Today we're going to talk about terrorism, specifically about the state terrorism. Hello, I'm Dr. Sam, this is Dr. Sam's Health. Today is September 24th, 2022, which means that the war in Ukraine has lasted already for 7 long months, and I have to continue talking about this terrible subject. I wish I could return back to my fitness videos or talking about health and nutrition. Unfortunately, my country of origin is under attack, and I would like to talk about the things that are happening there. Today, I would like to talk about terrorism, specifically about state terrorism. You see, a lot of people are talking about Russia being a country that supports terrorism, and I disagree with this. I think that what is happening right now with all these things, with all these cruel acts and all this violence that occurred in Ukraine, Russia is not a country that supports terrorism. I think that Russia is effectively a country that is a terrorist country at this particular moment. So since we're talking about these sensitive topics, I hope I won't be banned from YouTube from that. I'm just merely expressing my opinion. But also I'd like to say that I'm a medical doctor. I definitely, it hurts to learn about all these things that are happening in my country, but I do not give any kind of diagnosis here over YouTube. I even didn't talk about mental health of Putin or other people involved, and I do not provide any kind of medical advice. And of course, the opinions that I express here are solely mine, and they're not the opinions of the organizations that I represent directly or indirectly. My universities, my colleges, my profession in general. So I'm talking as a Ukrainian Canadian, the guy who lived in Canada for a while, and right now multiple places in Ukraine, including my hometown, Kharkiv, are still being bombarded, shelled by Russian forces and by Russia as a state. And unfortunately, I hear a lot of people talking about Russia, specifically Russians and some Ukrainians. Are saying that Russia is a great country that is trying to protect Russian-speaking Ukrainians. They have this, it's not a war, it's a special military operation that is going on there, which is already, it was a bluff and a BS from day one. But at this particular point, I'm not confused, I'm shocked with the fact that this operation is still ongoing. So they declared certain stupid goals, and sorry, but these are stupid goals. They are based on nothing. The goals of liberating Russian-speaking Ukrainians who are apparently oppressed by some non-existent Nazis in Ukraine. I'm pretty sure that Russians at this point can clearly see that Ukrainian population is fighting every single Russian stepping on Ukrainian land. We hate them at this point. And even those, like people of my city, for example, where we were quite not loyal, but we were okay with everything Russian. It's like predominantly Russian-speaking city. We hate them with every single cell of our brain, with every single cell of our heart. So right now, Russia continues this war without declaring it. And they keep shelling civilian objects. They were doing it from day one. I could, on some level, understand that, when you're attacking a country, you're trying to destroy certain infrastructure objects, like military infrastructure specifically, some government buildings, things like that that will incapacitate your enemy. They failed miserably while doing so. They tried to invade and they had to retreat. And right now, it is still my biggest question. I actually made a video about that. I do not understand why the hell do they still keep bombarding, shelling cities like Kharkiv. We have kicked out Russians from the Kharkiv province or region twice already. And there were pretty much not a single night in Kharkiv when they wouldn't shell the city. And they always hit these, living quarters, the areas where we have multiple multiplexes, and every night 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of them have been destroyed. So in the first couple of weeks of war, they did bombard universities, schools, but they also bombard a tractor factory that has a capacity of manufacturing tanks. They have bombarded the nuclear facility, like university research nuclear facility, that also caused significant risk of some nuclear leakage and contamination. But in the past 6 months out of 7, they were just shelling the city every night. And I have heard an explanation that, they are trying to keep Ukrainian forces in check so that they do not move south of Ukraine and like attack Russian forces and so on and so on and so on. But it's like clear-cut intimidation tactic. They are attacking civilians right now. They know it, and they pretty much admit it on multiple, like in the news, you could see that their spokespeople, their news anchors, the propagandists, they all were talking about Russia finally hitting this and that. Russia is hitting like electrical central plant that was supplying electricity to, say, Kharkiv or some other city. So now we can incapacitate the whole region and Ukrainians will not be able to, survive or fight back and so on and so on. But they're clearly admitting that they're attacking civilian infrastructure. So having said that, multiple politicians and, any kind of public people, Ukrainian stars, we're talking about Russia being a state supporting terrorism. And they demanded from the United Nations, from the United States, multiple interstate organizations, international, organizations to kind of label Russia as a state that supports terrorism. I think it's like partially wrong because at this point, I think that Russia is a state that is a terrorist state on its own. They're not supporting somebody else doing this kind of stuff. They're doing it themselves. And, some people will say, how can you say this? Well, there is a definition of terrorism, and let me read it to you, the one from Merriam-Webster dictionary. If you have a better one, let me know. Terrorism is the unlawful use or threat of violence, especially against the state or the public as a politically motivated means of attack or coercion. First part, unlawful use of or threat of violence. They are threatening Ukraine with nuclear strike. They are threatening Ukraine with explosions of the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. They are using violence every day, if not every hour, if not every minute, to coerce Ukrainian military, Ukrainian people to surrender. Is it lawful? No, they didn't even declare a war. They declared this stupid special military operation. So some moron in Kremlin, you know who I'm talking about, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, has decided that he has a right to run some sort of a military operations in another country. He doesn't have any mandates there. He doesn't have any say in what Ukrainians think or want to do. And definitely he doesn't have any right, or there's any law, international law, that will allow him to invade a country the way they did. In any way, but particularly in this way. So it is unlawful. Use a threat of violence. And what is the goal of this special military operation or war? The goal is to replace Ukrainian government. So it is clearly politically motivated. So what we have here is that the actions of Russia 100% meet the criteria of the definition of terrorism. Therefore, I believe that Russia is a terrorist state and should be treated like one. Russia should not be allowed to take any part in any kind of international negotiations, councils, organizations. They should be removed from these organizations. They should be made to earn their right back to United Nations, to the Council of Europe, to any kind of international treaties, organizations, and so on. They are an absolutely barbaric terrorist state that needs to be banned from anything civilized and treated like pariahs until they change their mind, they change their behavior, and they repent. So sorry if it was a little bit more emotional than I intended, but again and again, my country is under attack, my city is under attack, and it is terrible. I hope it will end soon. And that is pretty much everything I wanted to say today. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, ask questions, keep making comments so that this videos become more and more visible and people can actually, be familiar in the countries where they speak English, that there are opinions that are different from Russian propaganda, and some experts who are not that much of experts in this area. Also, I'm trying to support my, I want to say colleagues, but my friends and my compatriots who are fighting for Ukrainian Armed Forces. So if you want to make any kind of donations, please let me know. I will arrange for some information being sent to you so you could make your donation and help out people who are actually trying to defend Ukraine and fighting for democracy and peace. Once again, thank you for watching. All the very best. See you in my next video. Slava Ukraini!